Welcome back to the business law subject. Dear students, in this video, I'm going to deal with contract of agency. So in this, the definition of contract of agency, that is agency, who is an agent, who is a principal, and what are the rules or the principles of an agency contract, and who can employ an agent, who may be an agent, and what are the kinds of agents, what are the types of agents, and how the agency is created, what are the modes through which an agency can be created. Then in the same video, I'm going to cover the duties, rights of an agent, and how the agency is going to be terminated, right? So these are all the things I'm going to deal in this today's video. So let us learn the first part, that is who is an agent. So how it is explained in the contract of agency, right? So section 182 defines an agent, a person employed to do any act for another. So as all of you know, wherever an agent is there is a principal. It means the one person appoints to carry on his acts, his duties, or his activities of maybe business, right? So another person, he appoints another person to do his acts. So the person who appoints, he himself is called as a principal, and whom he appoints is called as an agent. So that's why it is defined in section 182, an agent, a person employed to do any act for another, right? So employed to do any act in the sense, the legal work, legal activities, right? For another, or to represent another in dealing with the third persons, right? So what he does, agent does, is he represents his principal while dealing with the third persons. The person for whom such act is done or who is so represented is called as principal, right? So principal is going to employ a person, that person himself is called as an agent. And section 183 deals with who may employ an agent. So who can appoint? A principal can appoint. But what is the competency of principal here? It is discussed. So section 183 states that any person who is of the age of majority according to the law to which he is subject and who is of sound mind. In the sense, in this, two conditions are there, What are those two conditions which are applicable to a principal? So two conditions are, one is a principal must be of the age of majority, right? So he is a major person. And the second condition is he is of a sound mind. In the sense, these two qualities of competency should be there in a principal, right? And the next question deals with, this is about the three parties are there in this agency, contract of agency. The thing is, principal is going to appoint, right? So principal will appoint here, excuse me, yeah. So what the principal does here is, he is going to appoint his agent, right? And this agent, on behalf of the principal, he will deal with the third parties. So for which an agent is going to bind principal, right? So this is how the relationship exists here. This is a contract between an agent and principal, okay, where an agent will do all the activities which are directed, which are instructed by the principal. With whom he is doing all this? With the third parties, right? And binding his principal for these acts. It means for the act of an agent, principal is held responsible to the third parties, okay? So let us come to the another section, that is 184, who may be an agent. So this tells about the competency of an agent. Who may be an agent, okay? So as between the principal and third persons, any person may become an agent. It means there is no condition that he should not become a non, except these two lines are there, So any person may become an agent, but no person, in the sense, it means the things which are written here, but no persons who is not of the age of majority. In the sense, who is he? He is a minor, right? And of sound mind, who is not of sound mind. It means a person of unsound mind can become an agent in the sense no person is applicable here. Don't confuse yourself here. There, the line starts with but no person in the sense the person who is not of the majority or a person who is not of sound mind cannot become an agent. No person is there. That's why can become an agent in the sense we need to link it with the no person. That's why these two parties are also not eligible. The same condition as it is applicable to the principal, right? So here, so as to be responsible to his principal according to the provisions in this we have herein contained. Okay, so let us focus on the consideration. How about the consideration? You have already learned in the earlier series, earlier videos, you know, what is consideration. It is something in return for the contract or for an agreement. Both the parties will be getting something in return. So that is what we call it as a consideration. But here, to create a contract of agency, there is no necessity of consideration. Section 185 says that consideration not necessary to create this contract of agency. That's why it is an excuse. It is an excuse or an exception to the rule, no consideration, no contract. There is a rule in the consideration chapter. You have learned it. No consideration, no contract. This is a rule. This is a principle. But there are certain exceptions. One among the exceptions is contract of agency. In creating contract of agency, there is no necessity of consideration. Okay. So section 189 deals with, you know, agent's authority in an emergency. You know, during emergencies, an agent gets additional power or an authority, discretionary power, you can tell it as. Okay. So what is this? When does it get and when it is lawful without the consent of the principal, when he can carry on is during emergencies, an agent has authority in an emergency to do all such acts for the purpose of protecting his principal from loss, right? So what he does is whatever the steps he takes in emergencies, that intention behind these steps is protecting his principles from loss, as would be done by a person of ordinary prudence. So whatever an ordinary person, a person who is in an ordinary prudence does it to protect the interest of a principal, in the same case, an agent is also having a power to do the acts keeping in view protecting his principal from the loss. So there are in his own case under certain or similar circumstances. So let us come to the two rules, important rules, or you can say these as principles of agency. There are two principles, you know. The first principle, what it says is whatever a person can do personally, he can do it through an agent, right? See how interesting it is. The first rule is whatever a person can do personally, can do it through an agent. It means whatever a principal wants to do personally, all such acts, all such activities can be assigned to an agent, and he can do it as if it is done by a principal. On behalf of the principal, all the works, all the legal activities can be done by an agent. But here is one situation, you know, what is that is, we need to think about it. What is that is, however, if an act is of personal nature, can he do on behalf of his principal? Can he marry on behalf of his principal? No, right? So there are certain situations which require the person only, the similar person only, because this is of work is of an activity is of a personal nature. Only and only the same person has to do, not anybody else, right? At that time, that type of activities cannot be performed by an agent on behalf of the principal. So this is what is highlighted in the rule 1. Whatever a person can do personally, he can do it through an agent. Agent can do except the things of personal nature. Personal nature. He cannot do these things, right? So except these things, rest other all legal work except these personal nature activities, all the works can be done by an agent. The second rule, coming to the second rule, what is it? He who does an act through another does it by himself. What does this mean? So it explains the responsibility or the liability, or you can say this as a responsibility of whom? Responsibility of principal, right? Okay, so this is what a responsibility of principal. Okay, so what is this is, he who does an act through another does it by himself. Whomsoever does, whomsoever in the sense, an agent. Whatever an agent has done, it is equivalent to the work is done by principal only. That is why it binds. It binds. It puts the principal under the responsibility for all the works done by an agent. Principal will be held responsible. This is what the second rule is. These two rules are there for the agency, contract of agency. So let us come to the next part, which deals with how are you going to create an agency. So creation of agency can be done through 4 ways. So what are those 4 ways? The first one is by express agreement, right? The first one is by express agreement, an agency can be created. The second one, there is no requirement of any express words, written or oral, right? The third one is by ratification, an agency can be created. And the fourth one is by operation of law, an agency can be created, right? So what are all these? Let us discuss one after one. The first one, by express agreement. So here, an agency is created by an express agreement, which may be oral or in written, or you can even say the power of attorney, right? Power of attorney is assigned to somebody else, that somebody else himself is called as an agent, right? To sell the land, to sell your product, or whatever the act it is, on behalf of you, the one who is power, who has been assigned the power of attorney, will carry forward the work. So this is what by express words, oral, may be written. This is express. That is why by express agreement, we can say this. The second one is by implied. There is no written document, or you can say, it is not expressed. Under this, what we learn is, the first one is, how does it look is, sometimes what happens is, it is inferred from the circumstances of the case. Implied agency may be, therefore, take any of these following ways, The first one is agency by estoppel. So what is this agency by estoppel? Estopping, that is stopping from, it stops the principal from denying, right? Principal from denying, refusing, denying. Okay, he cannot deny that I have not told. So how does it happen? It is called as a estoppel. Agency by estoppel is also called as, there is a doctrine, it is called as doctrine of estoppel. Okay, it is called as doctrine of estoppel, which is nothing but where a person by words or conduct willfully leads another person to believe that a certain state of affairs exists. It means the other person, he believes that there is a relationship between these two persons. He is principal and agent. So at that time, the principal is not permitted to deny that I'm not a principal, or I'm not, because their behavior itself is so, right? So that's why it is to be accepted. He cannot deny it. That is by act of both the parties, agent and the principal. They are not in fact agent and principal, but how do they behave is as if both of them are agent and principal. And that is observed by the third person, believing him, he does some contract with these two persons, one of these agent and all. At that time, the principal cannot deny. Okay. The second one is agency by holding out. So here, agency by holding out. Here, let me quote an example here. Mr. X appoints Y to purchase goods on credit from Z's shop. Okay. So here, what is the thing is X and Y. X is a principal. He appoints Y to buy the goods on credit from Z. Okay. So he is an agent in between third party. This is third party and this is principal. X is principal, right? Okay. X appoints Y to buy the goods on credit basis from Z. So whenever Y approaches Z, Z used to supply the goods because he believing that X has purchased, right? And X used to make the payment for all these purchases. So meanwhile, what happens is one fine day, Y purchases goods for his personal use. Personal use without highlighting this to Z. So for this, X is held responsible for making the payment of this. It holds out. This contract holds out principal, right? So the payment is made by the principal himself. Even then, the goods are bought by Y for his personal use. The payment is to be carried on or paid by Mr. X only. Why? Because this holds out. This contract holds out always. Y used to purchase it for X only. X's business, but now Y has purchased for his own purpose, right? So this is what is agency by holding out. And the third one is agency of necessity. So under certain circumstances, the law confers an authority on a person to act as an agent for another, and such an agency is called as agency of necessity. Agency by necessity, we can say, right? So here, I hope you understood that these three types of contracts are agencies can be created under the implied agency, right? So coming to the third one, by ratification. So ratification means subsequent adoption and acceptance of the act done by an agent without proper authority of the principal, right? By ratification in the sense, there is some changes, adoption and acceptance made by him. The best example quoted here, you know, what happens is A without the authority lends loan to C. A without bringing it to the notice of principal lends a certain sum of money to C. For, right, C for B. Then afterwards, B starts receiving interest from Mr. C. What does it mean? He has ratified. He has patched it up. Okay. B's conduct implies that there is a ratification. So here agency is created by ratification. Whatever that person does, that is patched it up by another person. Whomsoever does it, he is called as a principal, and who has done the act without bringing it to the notice of principal or the owner, father, whomsoever, then he is called as an agent. Okay. Next, last one is by operation of law. Here, you know, the company is created under the Companies Act. Before incorporation, who are there? The promoters are there. So promoters of the company, of a company, are acting as agents. Okay, because on behalf of the company, they're all doing for incorporation work. They are all preparing, they are doing the pre-incorporation contracts and all, preliminary contracts, they do it. So that is why they are in the position of an agent. So same case here, in the partnership firm, the partners are considered as agents of a firm, sometimes agents of another partners, other partner, right? So that's why partners are considered as agents of a firm or agents of other partners too. So this is by operation of law. So I hope all of you are following. So let us come to the next. This is briefly in a chart, it is explained. So looking to this chart, you can get to know how the agency can be created. What are the modes, methods of creating agency? The same we have discussed in the earlier slide. That is agency by express agreement, agency by implied agreement, in implied, Agency by estoppel is there. Agency by holding out is there. Agency of necessity is also there. Then the fourth one is agency by ratification, agency by operation of law. This is in the chat. It is briefly explained. Okay. Now let's come to the classification of an agency. It is categorized into two parts. Agency can be learned in two parts because there are two types of agents, you know. One is mercantile agent, another one is non-mercantile agent. So let us deal with mercantile agent is meant to carry on the business activities. Non-mercantile agent is not to carry on the business activities, but somehow to do their business and all, to do their own things. Attorney is given, right? Power of attorneys are assigned. You cannot come there and look after the things at that time. You assign this job to someone else. That is non-mercantile. That is not connected with the day-to-day routine mercantile activities of a business, right? Insurance agents are there. Insurance agents, they look at the customers, they find the customers and ask them to insure their lives, okay? And husband and wife, so these are all, what do you know? The classification in that non-mercantile agents. Husband is an agent of wife and wife is an agent of husband. Insurance agents are the agents of insurance companies. Power of attorney is assigned and that person to whom it is assigned is called as an agent. Who has assigned is called as a principal, right? So this is about non-mercantile agent. Let us come to the mercantile agents. So first one, we have dealt with the second part and now I'm dealing with the first part. That is a broker. Who is a broker? Brokers are of so many kinds. Broker in between the company and the wholesalers may be there, or broker can be in share stock exchanges and all, broker of a stock exchange. So what do? They earn commission on behalf of the stock exchange. They do the work on behalf of the company. They supply the goods to wholesalers, retailers, right? Merchant, other merchants and all. So this is what in between two parties, they are working. So this is purely of a commercial nature. That's why mercantile agent we do here. We call these persons. Broker is a mercantile agent. Then coming to the factor. Who is a factor? Factor is a one. Factor is a financial institution which buys the book debts of a company. What do you mean by book debt? So the question arises, book debts, right? All the credit sales made by credit sales, book debt, receivables, credit sales made by the company are all sold to a factor, handed over to a factor to collect the dues from the customers, right? So from their customers, it is an additional headache to the companies, those who sell the goods to the customers on credit basis. It becomes a heavy part on those companies because the core business of the company is to manufacture the goods and sell. And collection part is an additional headache to the company. That's why all book debts are sold, supplied to a factor. So on commission basis, factor is collecting the dues from them, and on spot, the factor is also going to supply the funds to the company back, right? So this is what is factor enjoys a wide discrepancy in selling of goods, in the sense factor makes or helps the company to sell number of sales, right? To promote the sales like anything, and the collection headache is of factor. So with the support of the factor, the companies are able to sell at their own discretionary power, right? So the third one is commission agent. We have already studied this. Commission agent who earns a commission in transaction of business. More the transaction, more the sales he makes, he will be getting more amount of commission. So such agents are called as commission agents. Purely they are appointed or employed by the companies to promote the sales only, right? And next comes Delcreditor commission. So overseas business and all, at that time, Delcreditor commissions are appointed because we don't know the customers of overseas business. We don't know those people who are, we are exporting goods to them. They are importing from us. So we sell the goods to them and we don't know about their existence, their creditworthiness, everything about them. We don't know at that time. We appoint through the Del Creditor Commission, the Del Creditor agent, we sell the goods to overseas transactions or overseas business units and collect the money from these people only. The Del Creditor agents accept the loss of bad debt and they earn an additional amount of commission for this, okay? And they give a guarantee of collection also by supplying the funds to us. Next comes auctioneers. See what these auctioneers do. These are all on behalf of the company. They sell vehicles may be there, or they sell whatever the things which is kept to auction, right? So to sell your real estate property may be there, or any vehicles at that time, defaulters don't pay anything for that. So the customers who have bought the vehicles from the companies, they will not make the complete payment to the banks, and all. At that time, bank will collect back its vehicles and make an auction. So auctioneers are also acting as an agent between these two parties. And the last one is banker. When he buys and sells goods on behalf of the customer, at that time, banker is acting, business takes place. In between person is an agent. So in the business, bank can also act as an agent. So many times, even the gold coins and all are sold by the bankers on behalf of the government. The gold coins are promoted by the bankers also. So many activities are done by being in between two buyer and seller. The banker will also carry on the agency business. So this is all about the classification of agency. In another classification, you might have heard the term sub-agent and substituted agent. There are two types of agents, The one is called as sub-agent. The another one is called as substituted agent. Okay. Substituted agent. So substituted agent is also called as co-agent. Okay. So who are these parties? Sub-agent means, the term itself tells you, a principal appoints an agent and the agent appoints one more person to act under him, act under the control of an agent. So that person is called as sub-agent. Okay. Sub-agent is going to bind his principal. That is, he is principal in the sense he is agent. The main agent. So in between person, he is called as a main agent. So main agent, when he appoints another person to work under him, he is placing or he is playing the role of principal. Okay. He is playing the role of principal. That's why sub-agent is under the agent. When an agent cannot perform all the work because he is overburdened with the work, at that time, he appoints one more person to work on his behalf. Right? So this is the concept of sub-agent. Okay. The second one is substituted agent. Who is called as a substituted agent? The question comes here. Sub-agent, you understood. Who is he? He is appointed by an agent or by a main agent to carry on main agent's work. Okay. To relieve his principal, that is agent. Main agent is called as principal here. Okay. Now substituted, coming to the substituted agent. Substituted agent is written here only equivalent to this. What happens here is, one, an agent, as per the directions of the principal, right? As per the directions of the principal, appoints or employs another person to act for the principal. What he is acting? For the principal he is acting. So to act for the principal, not for the agent, right? To act for the principal, this person is appointed. At that time, that person is called as substituted agent. And this you need to understand here is the responsibility of a principal, right? So here, the principal is not responsible for acts of the sub-agent. For acts of the sub-agent, right? Sub-agent, the principal here, this person is not at all responsible. Only this sub-agent is going to bind a main agent. Whereas substituted, for the acts of substituted agent, principal is held responsible. Principal is held responsible, right? So that's why for whatever the substituted agent does for all those legal work, legal activities, a principal is held responsible, and this sub-agent will make his principal. Who is his principal? Agent is, main agent is his principal. So he will make him a responsible person. Clear? I hope you understood. Till now, you understood. Let's move on to the next slide. Before going to that, let me clear up on this. Okay. So let us focus now your duties of an agent. So this duties of an agent will be covered in the next slide. Okay, next video. I'll make a video on this, and taking very few, minutes, I can cover up the duties, rights of an agent as well as a principal, and how about the termination of contract of agency. Thank you very much. Till now, we can take a break, and very soon I'm going to make a video on this part also. Thank you.